So today we're going to be making a fawn envelope. This envelope I made out of some leftover watercolor paper. I used a We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board to punch out the envelope shape. And then I went ahead and I did my addressing on the envelope. I used Ziller Ink because it's waterproof, but you could use anything that's waterproof. Even just like a micron pen if you don't want to do the fancy addressing. I would go ahead and do the addressing. Make sure you know what stamps you're going to use and where they're going to go. But once you've got that finished, you're going to draw some straight lines. I like to use a watercolor pencil when I draw straight lines. This is just a Derwent watercolor pencil in gray. Because when you do watercolor, the watercolor pencil dissolves. And so I just draw really light lines in watercolor pencil. And I'll show you what these lines are used for in a second, but I think I'm going to draw 3 diagonal lines. They need to be parallel to each other across this envelope. Okay, so I've drawn these 3 parallel lines because those are going to be the darker portions. They're going to help me figure out where the darker portions are on this pattern. So after I've drawn my parallel lines, let me show you my strategy. In a moment, I'm gonna draw dots on my watercolor paper with Pebeo drawing gum. And the way that I want them to go is I want them to tilt outwards from those main lines. Okay, and it needs to be, the dots needs to be denser here and more spread out between the lines. Okay, so when I draw the dots, I'm gonna go dense up close to the line, and then as I get further out, they become more sparse. And that's gonna go all the way down. So dense close, and then sparser further away. Okay, and I want those to be tilted. All right, let's go for it. So Pebeo drawing gum smells pretty strong. Be aware, use it in a well-ventilated area. Safety first. Okay, and I'm just gonna start. Now, smaller dots are favorable to larger dots. Okay, so I want to do some smaller dots close into the line. Remember, more concentrated, close to the line. And as you go out toward the middle between the 2 lines, you want to get a little more spread out. So really tight dots up close next to the line. And then more spread out. And I like to kind of ignore my lettering, just pretend it's not there. Still do my pattern over the lettering. You want it to be as randomized as possible. And then I'm gonna cap this and rinse my brush off really quickly so it doesn't dry too much. And give this a little swirl because the stuff on the top is dry, most likely. And we're gonna do the other side. I think smaller dots are definitely preferable to larger dots. Sometimes as I go forward, I get a little frustrated and I'm just like, let this be over. But you gotta have some control. Okay, so again, I'm gonna cap this and go rinse my brush off. So I've let this dry. And I think almost all of it is dry. I don't want to get any of the drawing gum really in my brush because it's a pain to get out. But what we're gonna do is mix up a fawn color. And the two best colors that I have found for this purpose are yellow ochre and burnt umber. So they make this nice, natural, fawny color. So I mix that up with a good amount of water, and then I rinse my brush off really well because I want the lightest possible coating across the entire envelope, and I want to use a lot of water, and I want the whole envelope to be wet. And I know there are better strategies for this, but in my mind, the easiest way to do this envelope is to work pretty quickly and use a lot of water. Okay, so we've got this nice light wash over the entire thing. You want there to be no dry spots. Okay, the next step is to take some fairly diluted mix and stripe it down the middle of each of your stripes. So take it down the middle and kind of spread it out across your stripes. Trying to work fairly quickly. Okay, and once I think I've got a nice little wash in here, I want to add some more color. I want to go darkest down the middle. So I'm gonna up the concentration with some more yellow ochre and some more burnt umber. In my little palette over here, I don't want it to be too dark, so I dipped it once to make sure it wasn't too dark. And then I'm just gonna go up the middle and dab. As long as you've got the stripes that start, you know, that have a nice gradient from dark to light, you are good. Just keep adding pigment in there. You could even go in there with some more just like dark. This is just burnt umber, getting a little wild. All right, now here's the really fun part. So all those little gray spots that are the Pebeo drawing gum, you can literally take your finger and rub them off. And then your beautiful pattern is revealed. All right. So there it is, in all of its glory. So you just fold this guy up, tape the back, or glue the back, and you've got your cute little envelope. All done. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.